Welcome in-game community. Thanks for joining us as always. I'm Pierre, he's Chris, and we're here to help you win at fantasy football. That is our end game. You know, we talk about our favorite must-starts and must-sits each and every week. So right now, we're going to break down the guys we think should be riding the pine for week 2 at the running back position. Now, if you want your questions specific to your team and league answered by us live on the air, you can actually join us on this channel. We now have two separate start-sit shows. One on Saturday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. That is available for anyone. And if you want to join our game day morning start-sit show, that will be for our members. We have so many questions coming in. We really want to answer them all, but we just can't. So that's how we're going to 2 shows. So check the link in the description below, and you can find out how to join on Sunday morning, and we'll have all the latest updates for you and who we think you should be starting and sitting. So speaking of, we've already talked about our favorite running backs that should be in your lineups with our must start. So now it's time for the other side here. Who do you think should be sitting in week 2?
I'm going to start with your guy, Myles Gaskin, who I love. I love Myles Gaskin, but I just have a hard time trusting Myles Gaskin this week against this Buffalo defense. We just saw them completely shut down Najee Harris. I know Myles Gaskin, the one nice thing for Myles Gaskin is we saw he's involved enough in the passing game that maybe he won't absolutely kill your fantasy team this week. But without those receptions, it's very unlikely he's going to do anything at all on the ground against this Buffalo defense. And even through the air, I don't think he's going to be able to do enough in the passing game to really pay off the kind of value you're looking for here. I think this is going to be a really tough week for the entire Dolphins offense because this Bills defense is really, really good. So I get it. You might not have a better option than Myles Gaskin, and you might just have to, bite your lip and hope for the best. But if you do have a better option, maybe one of the guys we talked about on our must-start running back show, I would absolutely play them over Myles Gaskin.
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm afraid of. The Dolphins will have a hard time scoring. Look, they get Will Fuller back, but still, that's not something that's going to really help Gaskin's case. And if they do get behind early, which is possible, then yeah, the running game might not be much of a factor. So I do have to agree with that. Now, if you were considering starting Ronald Jones, you probably shouldn't because we don't even know if he's going to see the field much in week 2. Talk about guys who have a pretty big doghouse. Bruce Arians is one. And again, running backs are usually the first to enter. Ronald Jones, if you notice, he had that fumble on Thursday night, didn't sniff the field after that. And, he kind of put it on Jones and said, he wasn't emotionally ready to return to the game or something like that. Maybe that's true, but even if that is the case, that doesn't give you a lot of confidence in Jones. And you know that Jones, as it is, he only makes his fantasy day by running the ball, not a pass catcher. They got Gio Bernard to take that role. Leonard Fournette is more capable. So, Jones is a low floor guy as it is. And so in a game that, the matchup isn't terrible against Atlanta, but still, I just don't have any confidence in Jones and the number of touches he's going to get. So I have to leave him out of my lineup, even if he was a consideration, but very risky. So keep him on your bench. All right, Chris, let's move on. Who else do you have on your bench?
I have another running back that you're probably counting on as your every week RB2, and that's Mike Davis of the Falcons. Now, I know he didn't have a great first game. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. But if you look at it, he played almost every snap. He got almost every touch among running backs. It was exactly what you wanted from Mike Davis. The problem was this Falcons offense was really, really bad, and Matt Ryan was under a ton of pressure. Well, it's not going to get any better this week against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, to me, is a defense that you can only play the top upper echelon of running backs like Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara. Those are the only guys you can really play against this Tampa Bay run defense. It is legit. It is incredible. I just don't see any way Mike Davis does anything for your fantasy team this week unless he can somehow fall in the end zone. And even that seems like a stretch based on what we saw on Sunday from this Falcons offense. So unlike Myles Gaskin, where, maybe he'll save you in the passing game, I don't even think that's going to happen for Mike Davis. I think he's an absolute must sit in any format this week against this Tampa Bay defense.
Yeah, that Falcons offense is really bad, but I think the most important thing there is Vita Vea He's no joke. That he is looking like he could be the next Ndamukong Suh, just a dominant run stuffer. All right, so full disclosure here, we're recording this. It's about halftime of the Monday night game, and let me tell you that I don't know exactly what Josh Jacobs' final line is going to be. I do know some people will point to the fact that, look, he scored a touchdown, and so he got you some points. But he has right now 5 carries for 18 yards. I think that's kind of what we're going to expect from him. He's going to be touchdown dependent. The Raiders offense not looking too good as a whole. And next week, they get to face the Pittsburgh Steelers, which have a pretty good defense if you didn't know. So I'm staying away from Jacobs. Another guy that is going to be definitely less productive than last year because he's just not going to see the volume. He's a guy that we kind of called a draft bust and a void all throughout draft season. We're sticking to that because we really need to see something to change our minds. And I don't think it's going to happen, especially in week 2. I'm not saying that you're never going to start him again this season. He'll have his spots, but going against Pittsburgh, it's not the spot. All right, one more must sit for you.
Once again, another running back that we thought was going to be an every week RB2, maybe even a borderline RB1 after what we saw last year, and that's James Robinson. Man, what happened to the Jaguars, right? Against Houston, this looked like a can't miss spot for James Robinson. Not only did he completely miss, the Jaguars defense was so bad, they were playing from behind, they had to throw the ball. I think Trevor Lawrence did throw it 50 times or pretty close. But even worse for James Robinson is he pretty much split 50-50 with Carlos Hyde. And that is not going to get it done for James Robinson in this offense. And now, instead of the great matchup with Houston, where we thought it was a smash spot, he has to go against Denver, who more than likely is going to finally have Bradley Chubb back and healthy. And this defense, I know it was the Giants, but this defense looked good. They looked elite. They are elite. There's just no way, after what we saw last week, with him splitting with Carlos Hyde and now going against his Denver defense, there's just no way I can trust James Robinson in my lineups.
What happened to the Jaguars? Urban Meyer happened to the Jaguars. Look, I mean, I don't wish ill will on him or the team, but I just never looked like it was a good match. And by that, I mean Urban Meyer in the NFL. I don't predict good things, but you know what? We'll see. It's still early. And then you did invoke the Houston Texans who, it's not a surprise to say, must sit Texans. After last week, you might be inspired to actually consider some Texans. And especially the running backs, you might notice all 3 running backs found the end zone somehow. Some of them were kind of popular sleepers for a while. Philip Lindsay was trendy. I guess Mark Ingram was really never trendy. But you look and say, wow, he not only scored, but he had 85 rushing yards. Maybe there's something there. Maybe not. Okay, this was the Jaguars, who you will find out now have a streak going back to last year of allowing a lot of points and yards to pretty much everybody. And this team looks lost as of right now. A lot of penalties, sloppy mistakes. The fact that every Texans running back scored and Tyrod Taylor had a huge game should tell you that it's a little bit more about the Jags defense than anything. But also notice that Ingram's yardage came on 26 carries. It's not like he was running super efficiently. He just got the ball a lot because it was a blowout game. So as far as the Texans running backs the rest of this year, the answer is no and don't. Now this coming week especially, they're going on the road against Cleveland. So definitely no and just don't consider it. All right, before we close, those are our guys that we say you should be benching or sitting. We're going to go a little bit higher up the rankings. So these aren't must bench players, but we're going to call out a guy who might be even an RB1, top 10, top 15 type running back. You really can't bench, but we're going to call a down game for them. Somebody that you just might want to keep your eye on. Maybe you're in a shallow league. You can afford to switch him out with somebody else, but this is going to be our kind of duds of the week. So Chris, who you got?
I've got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was kind of a dud of the week last week too, right, against a tough Browns defense. Now he gets possibly an even tougher, or at least just as tough, of a Ravens defense. Only had 72 total yards last week. Did kind of save his day with 3 catches. But look, this is the Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce show. No McCole Hardman, no Demarcus Robinson, very little Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Yeah, he's going to have great games when they're up big, but this is another game that should be close at least. I doubt they'll be behind like they were against the Browns, but the Ravens should be able to keep it close. And with this defense, again, I think you have to start Edwards-Helaire unless you really have some great options, but just temper expectations a little bit because he could have a dud this week.
Yeah, lucky for me, I don't have to bench him because I still drafted him nowhere this year. It's the same thing, like you already said. This offense, the Chiefs' offense, it's 3 guys, right? It's going to be Kelsey and Hill. There's not room for another, and the running back will never be a major factor. And I hate to say this, Chris, I know we're still keeping our faith in Saquon Barkley season long, but I'm starting to think now that not just Denver being pretty good on defense, which they are, but maybe Saquon really isn't 100% back because it didn't look like it last week. Kind of got shut down. I know they were saying, okay, they're going to limit his touches, and they did, but also he didn't get it going. And now going against Washington in week 2, that's a pretty good defense, as you know. So again, he's the type of player, and we got a lot of questions about Barkley in our start sit on Sunday morning. And we kind of gave the same answers. You hate to bench him unless you really have a better option, somebody who you feel really good about, because you never know with Saquon. He could explode for a big run. He could just be back all of a sudden. So I'm not telling you have to sit Barkley, but I don't really expect much better than last week, if anything at all. So it's definitely a situation to monitor. We'll see how close to 100% he really is. All right, guys. So those are our must-sit running backs for week 2. If you haven't already, go ahead and check out the must starts. Again, we're here to help you all week, all season long, help you win. Don't forget to check out the link in the description if you want to join our special start sit show on Sunday morning, or you can just join the one for free on Saturday night because, again, our goal is to help each and every one of you win. All right, thanks for watching.